saw about the 17-year-old basketball player, straight A student. Am I wrong, Gillie? It used to be like the athletes, they got protected.
Right.
Nobody touched them. Hey, he good now. He gonna be what we, they're gonna be talking about the block. He from the block, he got out. They protected those guys. What happened?
That's who killed my son.
All right, so there you have it, a shocking revelation from Gillie the King. And we're going to call him Gillie the King because, we want to give him his flowers. He is one of the top Philadelphia guys right now in the media area. So let's make sure we give him the proper respect he deserves. However, this is insanity for him to actually come out and even shed light on this. I thought he was going to be smarter and not say anything about it. We all know that his nephew here, SHAY Baby, posted a few questionable things on his Instagram story and then was locked up the next day or day after. The Joker, Noah Scurry, was gunned down with his mother on his way to school. Alright, so that's what SHAY Baby, who is Gillie the King's nephew, posted on his Instagram story after finding out that Noah Scurry, the Joker, who had allegedly gunned down, well, not even allegedly, now that Gillie's confirmed it, he said that the police told him that he was one of the kids that was going to be arrested for his son Cheese's murder. So, it's not even alleged at this point. And, that was his nephew SHAY Baby's Instagram, and that had some very interesting things. As you see, one of them that stuck out to me was where he said, just remember they did it first. Okay, and they're referring to obviously the murder of Cheese, which happened in, I think, August of 2023. So it's been about a year and a half, and now, it's payback time. So it looked like SHAY Baby was picked up for that, and what he was posting on Instagram and his stories, after he passed, it definitely looked like they were taking some kind of credit. I mean, I'm sure at the very least they were happy, but that's what's so crazy about Gillie speaking upon this, because if SHAY Baby did do it, whether Gillie had that set up or not, and I'm not saying he did, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. I don't think Gillie and Wallow are the same in that regard. Where Wallow tells the story of how he forgave his brother's killer, his brother Steve died in his grandmother's arms, who's Wallow's very close to. I think Wallow's a different kind of person. I think Gillie, if I had to put my money on it, I think Gillie is a lot more spiteful, and I don't think he would take too kindly to his son being murdered. And if that would mean giving up the money, I think Gillie would. I don't think Gillie would hesitate. I think he's a man of principle, and there's more things than money and comfortability that are important to him, like his family. And taking one of his family members, I would have to assume that Gillie would be playing on some street time. Now, I may be wrong, but maybe this is why he, openly stated that the police told him and who it was and all, because he doesn't have anything to do with it. Or maybe his family member did do something, but it wasn't, a paid hit or anything that he instigated. Gillie's smart. He knows if people are going to react without him even having to move. So maybe he didn't have anything to do with it, but just saying it, whether he did or didn't, is opening up people to look into it. Whether that was public knowledge or not, or a knowledge the police had, it was a bad move opening it up, because there's a lot of people that are probably mad that he made his own way. And he was talking spicy in this interview. And some of the people he was talking about, I'm sure they have police friends, and they wouldn't have no problem trying to get Gillie hemmed up somehow in some kind of investigation, and just even talking about it and acknowledging it, that this was the kid that murdered his son, and there being the question of if his nephew did it, even though his nephew isn't locked up for it. He is locked up. They grabbed him right after these Instagram stories came out. It looked like he was claiming it. So we don't really know yet what, who did what, but it would be very, very unintelligent of Gillie to even say it, because they would try to put a case on him maybe anyway. You know, I could see people just hating on him. So hopefully that doesn't happen if he didn't have anything to do with it. And even if he did, you know, you really can't blame a father for losing their son, and you know what comes after that if that's what happened. Especially a man like Gillie, who is always talking to the youth and who's always trying to point them in the right direction and speak with them and not at them, as a real OG, a old head as we would call him in the city. So he's really, you know, probably hurt by this because all the stuff he does for, you know, the young kids, for his son to then be gunned down by one of the youngest of the kids. You know, 16 is real young, 16, 17 years old. This kid, you know, decides to pick up a gun, and he's not even there. You know, the whole thing's crazy because they weren't even looking for Cheese, Gillie's son Cheese. They weren't looking for him. They were just going over to a block they had beef with. He just happened to pull up and got caught in the mix, and like that, you know, that's how his life ended that quick. And that's why, you know, the streets, there's no great thing that's going on. You know, when you're a kid, you might think that there's, you know, some kind of life and there's the allure, but as you get older, you realize, you know, it really is just a myth. You know, you could have your fun for a certain amount of time, but you're going to wind up dead or in jail or washed up in a position where you can't work a job because you've never done anything in real society. And it's going to be real hard for you to even try to conform. So where do you go? Jail. Even if you're on a life installment plan, you know. So you really just need to take the advice that all the older people that have been through it are telling you guys when we tell you. Slow it down because these streets ain't for everybody. You know, there's plenty of other things you can do that are less detrimental to your well being. You know, you don't have to put your life in jeopardy every day. All right, so now we're looking at what might happen. Straight up, they could build a RICO. If Gillie is involved in this and he sent C Baby or he knew about it, he could get somehow wrapped up in a RICO. And, you know, that's not so far fetched. He has a lot of enemies. He's very cocky. People want to see him fall just off him winning. You know, that's how people are. And he's got some enemies. So, you know, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if some organization comes after him trying to put a RICO or some kind of charge on him. And even if not that, you know, maybe they come at him civilly and try to sue him. Because, you know, what are you going to do if you're a poor mother that just lost her son, couldn't even bury her son? They had a GoFundMe up for, you know, to get the casket costs and the funeral. And, you know, I'm sure it's hard. I mean, it's both sides I feel bad for. You know, this is crazy. You're talking about one's a kid, teenager, could have been a good kid, gets caught up in the wrong crowd probably and starts acting crazy. Who knows? I mean, he got shot. We know that. So, you know, it looks like this kid really, you know, was a product of his environment and chose the wrong route. But, I mean, still, they're all children for the most part. Even Cheese, he was a young man. You know, he wasn't much older than this kid, and he's just caught up in it. So it's just senseless, and it's just crazy. But, you know, this is what the feds love to dig their teeth into. Oh, look at this famous man that's made himself all this money. And now he's got all these millions of dollars, and him and Wallow are talking about cars and property that they own, and they're going to the Super Bowl, and then they have to see him on the Super Bowl. There's a lot of people that probably don't want to see Gillie at the Super Bowl. Now, you may ask yourself, well, why is that? Why would they not want to see Gillie at the Super Bowl? And that's because they're jealous and they're haters. There's a lot of jealous haters out there. And, you know, you got to worry about that when you get yourself to a level that Gillie is on. I'm not saying all law enforcement are jealous haters or that the people who he's beefing with are jealous haters, but I'm sure one of them out there is. So now you got to worry about what you've opened yourself up to, because someone out there said, did he just go in the SHAY room and basically admit that he knew that Noah Scurry was one of the killers of Cheese? Okay. And did he admit that a police officer told him? Yes, he said that his friend Skip, or a police officer that he knew by the name of Skip, confirmed to Gillie after the passing of Noah Scurry that he is one of the people that were set to be arrested for the murder of Gillie's son Cheese. So, he went on national TV, or the internet rather, which will be televised nationally, globally, really. So it'll go everywhere, and he's on the SHAY room saying, yeah, that's the kid that did it, the kid with the high SATs. And it was really weird how they did it too. They asked him about his son and what everything basically beforehand. Oh, what was your son doing? He was living a life he shouldn't have been living, which is true because he didn't need to. But, I understand he also probably was living in Gillie's shadow, and that's probably a hard pill to swallow, too, to be the son of somebody like Gillie, who's so influential and monumental, especially in Philadelphia, where this kid has lived and grown up a lot of his life, So it probably was hard to be in the shadow of a figure like Gillie. It's probably a hard thing to do and live with every day when you're trying to make a name for yourself and break apart. So, that's probably what led him to the street, to try to get his own identity away from his father and make his own coin and kind of just, show that he's his own man, and that's respectable. But anyway, it'll be real interesting to see how this unfolds because, like I said, Baby, Gillie's nephew, Cheese's cousin, I'm assuming, is locked up right now. We don't know for what. We originally thought, like everybody else, that he was locked up for the murder of Noah Scurry, but as of right now, he's not, and he's been locked up about a month or so. So, it's about that time where they would probably be unveiling those charges. So they haven't yet. So we don't have much to go off of, but it does seem like Gillie went on there and subliminally said, yeah, that came from us, or that, maybe he was just saying, yeah, that's what happens when you play these games, and now we're up one. And, I wouldn't be too upset if the killer of my son died either. Um, it's tragedy that was in front of his mother, but that's what's going to happen when you live this life, and that's why it's so important to try to get away from it and do something productive, because there is nothing good that came from this. This kid died and got 1.3 million views on his songs in a month. He'll never enjoy it, so it wasn't even worth it. Everything that he did, school wise, academic wise, athletic wise, shooting in the gym, shooting in the street, he threw it all away, and none of it mattered. And any of the fame that he got came after he died. He didn't enjoy 1 second of this, and that's one of the things to point out. None of his fame, none of his notoriety did he get to enjoy. He didn't get 1 second of enjoyment out of it. So it's really just a waste across the board. Cheese wasn't the intended target, and he dies a tragic death. And this kid, basically just didn't even have to be doing this, and it's just crazy. And he does, and he blows up, but only after he died. So, real tragic story. Hopefully they don't go after Gillie, but they might. I don't know what's gonna happen. If they have any evidence that Gillie's nephew was involved, they're probably going to try to pull Gillie into it, and that's my honest opinion. I don't know or think that he was. I'm not trying to say that, but everybody's talking like, hey, it looks like Gillie was subliminally saying, yeah, we did that. But while that could be true, he might just be saying, yeah, what comes around goes around. All right, well, this is another episode of the news from Free Smoke TV, and we're off.